Good afternoon. Welcome to Vanik-Ias. We'll discuss current affairs of 5th March. So, first topic is related to Indian heritage, that is Konark Sun Temple. Right. Konark Sun Temple is going to the first model town in Odisha where solar energy will be generated, and that will fulfill the requirement of Konark Temple. So here two things we will discuss. First is related to Konark Temple, and second is related to solar energy or renewable energy. This is a top topic. First, renewable energy. Why renewable energy is essential? We have certain commitments. Class go commit. Achieve carbon neutral. So to achieve carbon neutral, 2006 develop the renewable energy sources that will reduce carbon. Renewable energy sources is that is solar or wind or geothermal. Government is only government achieve the target set by that in the Paris Climate that it has developed solar energy target. It has promised Paris Climate. So far, Odisha is concerned. The first temple that is to create solar energy. It's a grid dependent. Green energy, solar energy. Temple and temple and down. Solar energy. So what are the guidelines? This guidelines has targeted to generate 2,750 from renewable. Out of solar energy is 2,200 megawatts. So Konark Temple will generate the premises of Konark Temple 2,200 solar energy generated, and in total 2,750, that is 2,700 megawatts will be renewable energy will be generated by Odisha. That is a target that is given by Ministry of Environment of Central Government. Right. Konark's transition to renewable energy is a part of ambitious plan by Ministry of New Renewable Energy, that is to increase energy production by Odisha. It has given their target. Odisha has given of 2,750 megawatts of renewable energy. Right. Next. Then how is the fast stage and what are the related challenges? Why it is significant? Because that will reduce the consumption of conventional energy. Energy means our coal and petroleum, hydropower, especially. That will reduce the burden on coal and that will help the electricity. Next, the financial benefit from the solar energy will help the private spend on other developmental work. Financial benefit from the solar energy that will save the revenue that will give to other developmental works. Next, what is challenges for us to establish solar power plants? It's coastal area 480 kilometers. Right, coastal area 480 kilometers. And every year we see a cyclone. So these are the challenges. Right? While studying a particular topic, you understand the challenges. First challenge is, so far as Odisha is concerned, is regular cyclones, and it is marked nearby the coastal areas, the coastal Odisha. And it has so far encountered 10 cyclones, including super cyclone Phylin, Hudud, Titli, and Fani in last 22 years. So frequency of cyclones is more that poses a big challenge as far as development of solar energy is concerned. Next, besides this, land acquisition is another major problem, right? We have a land acquisition law that has a dispute time, period. So land acquisition law is not passed. Land acquisition is a big problem in every sector. Establishment of various industries also. Land acquisition is a big problem wherever you are writing a question on industries or reducer or employment. Always land is a big problem, right? Because we do not have a consolidated, comprehensive land acquisition law. And that is a big problem. Another thing is that while coastal areas are cyclone prone, some parts of Odisha dense forests. Some parts of Odisha are also dense forests, whereas land is expensive, also land is expensive, dense populated areas. So these are the challenges. Where you will establish solar energy, you will keep land. Also, you will need a conducive atmosphere. Whereas as Odisha is concerned, many of our coastline areas and there is frequent cyclones, and some areas are dense forests. There is also the prevalence of Naxalism in certain areas. There is also highly populated and dense populated areas where you cannot where you have the land at low price to establish solar energy. What do you know about Konark Temple? So, while Konark Temple is located in East Odisha, in the sacred city of Puri. Puri, there is a coastal district Puri. Konark Temple is also located in the East Odisha. It is built in 13th century. Remember, it is built King Narasimha Deva I who ruled from 1238 AD to 1264 AD. King Narasimha Deva I, he has established this, who has built this temple in 13th century. Concepts on represent strength and stability of Eastern Maya Empire in to Eastern dynasty as well as the value of some historic meaning. So the most important thing here is that this Konark temple was built by King Narasimha Deva I, who belongs to 13th century and he belongs to Eastern Ganga Empire. Next, there is one known as Rudhi Gangas or Prachya Gangas. Rudhi Gangas or Prachya Gangas. It was a large Indian royal dynasty that Kalinga as well as 5th century to 15th century. To understand the tenure of the Kalinga dynasty, that extends from 5th century to 15th century for Kalinga. That is Kalinga, that is the Odisha. The beginning of what Eastern Ganga dynasty came out when Indravarma I defeated Vishnupuran king. Indravarma I is the first king of Eastern Ganga dynasty who ruled around 10th century in Odisha. So Narasimha Deva I belongs to that Eastern Ganga dynasty, and he has built this Konark temple, and it is what is the shape of temple? Remember, this is what it is, a colossal chariot. It's like colossal chariot. The shape of the temple of Konark temple. So two important here. One is King Narasimha Deva I, who belongs to 13th century. Then he has built the Konark temple. And, he belongs to Eastern Ganga dynasty. And the Konark temple, it is built as like a chariot, right? It's like a chariot. Next. It is dedicated to sun god, right? That's why it is called as sun temple. Sun, the god is sun. The Konark temple is widely known for its architecture, is not but also for the integration and profusion sculptural work. Rich sculptural works are on the walls of the temple. It marks the highest point of achievement of Kalinga architecture, depicting grace of joy in the rhythm of life in all its wondrous variety. This temple shows the rich heritage of Odisha, or that is Kalinga school of architecture. You will see in your you must see Gandhara school architecture, you must see your Nagara school architecture, Dravida school architecture, Vesar school architecture, and there is a special Odisha school architecture or Kalinga school architecture, with a mix of Vesar style architecture and Nagara style architecture. Nagara style architecture, it belongs to northern India. Vesar style architecture, it belongs to the southern India. And Kalinga style architecture, it is a mix of the both. And Konark temple is the best sculptural work so far of Kalinga style architecture or Kalinga style temple. It was declared a UNESCO World Heritage in 1984. Remember, they are declared UNESCO World Heritage in 1984. There are rows of 12 wheels on each side. Some say that wheels represent 24 hours a day, and others say that 24 months. So there are 12 wheels also, that is in the each side of some temple. There are 7 horses who said to symbolize 7 days of the week. 7 horses, 12 wheels that are present in the Sun Temple. The sailor ones call it Sun Temple of Konark or the Black Pagoda. It is also called as Black Pagoda. Why it is Black Pagoda? Because it was said that it was attracting the various ships to the nearby areas of the beach of the Sun Temple. It is located in the Chandrabhaga beach. Chandrabhaga beach, which is a Bay of Bengal. Then sailors once then Konark is an invaluable link to the history of diffusion of cult of Surya, right? Sun Temple, which was originating in Kashmir during the 8th century and finally reached the source of Eastern India. Cult of Surya, it started in Kashmir during the 8th century. So what I studied, first thing is that it is of the Konark Temple. Konark Temple was made by the Konark Temple was the son of related to Sun God, the Surya Temple. It is one of the UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it has 12 wheels. 12 wheels they signifies the half of the day or 12 months of a year, and there are also 7 horses. They signifies 7 days of a week. Then another thing is that it is called as Black Pagoda. It's a UNESCO World Heritage, and it belongs to the cult of Surya. Cult of Surya. It was started in during the Kashmir days. And another thing that important thing that I have is right. So this is all about your Konark Sun Temple. It's a World Heritage Site. So all the points are important here. Next. Then international relation that is related to UN resolution on Russia and Ukraine. Right now, Ukraine and Russia crisis are undergoing. Russia has already invaded Ukraine and it has declared its province, Donetsk and Donetsk province, especially the Donbass region, that it is recognized these regions. What are these Donbass regions? These are the regions where there was combined rule of the separatists that are backed by Russia, and there was the Ukraine government. Around 1/3 of the area of these those areas of Ukraine were already ruled by Russia-backed separatists. If we understand the history, then after Cold War, after the end of Cold War, in 1991, this Ukraine it is after the biggest country after Russia which declares independence. Right? In USSR, there are so many countries like this Belarus and Ukraine, all these things. They are Balkanized, they are called as Balkan countries. They were under Russia, under USSR. And after the end of Cold War, they got Balkanized, they got separated. Every country, they declare their independence. Similarly, Ukraine also declared its independence. And since then, it became a separate country. However, both Russia and Ukraine, they developed relationship. They have a relationship of 100 years. But the fact is that in 2008, what happened? Ukraine started development to join NATO forces, right? Which was opposed by Russia because it is nearer to the territory of Russia, and Russia understands it as the aggression of NATO forces or West. West means especially US. USA is creating a security threat to Russia indirectly by developing ties with not developing ties with Ukraine. Right? Again, Victor become when President Victor he opposed annexation in 2014. He opposed annexation of Ukraine to NATO, and he also opposed a deal with EU, European Union, and then he there is popular protest started against him, President Victor, who was against the West, and again he has to resign. Into this crisis, you will understand that it started in 2013. After that, in 2014, Russia annexed the region of Ukraine, that is the Crimea, and some regions like this Luhansk and Donbass region, their separatist movement started there, and they are backed by Russia. Those Luhansk region or Donbass region, they are backed by Russia, and they developed they were starting a separatist movement against Ukraine because majority of population in those areas they belongs to Russia, right? So what happened? The new president comes, the present President Zelensky, and he was more tilted to West, and he was again developing the membership, and Russia again threatened against it because Russia is saying that you should not develop these missiles against in your own territory because I am not going to build territorial camps near USA. So USA should not build any territorial camps or it should not increase its NATO membership and include the Ukraine. This is so far as security purpose of Russia is concerned. This is it is obvious. Every country will defend their national interests, right? In international relations, national interest is the main role, and no country follows the international laws and laws and directions of the governing bodies like United Nations. Right? Neither United Nations has any such power. Why? Because United Nations General Assembly does not have any power so far as legislation is concerned. So far as enforcement is concerned, the real power lies with the UNSC, United Nations Security Council. But in Security Council, Russia has veto power. So any type of resolution that come to UNSC, if Russia do not want, it will not be passed. Right? So far this resolution of UN is concerned, it is just like a voice of whole world. It do not have any power for implementation, right? It cannot take any action against Russia by this resolution. It is just a voice. This resolution is like just like a voice. So recently India has why India absent? Because we have to maintain our strategic interest. We have to maintain our strategic autonomy. We have an ideology of non-aligned movements since the during the Cold War, right? We do not engage in bloc politics with the USA and Russia. We have concerns with both countries. We have development relationship with both countries. So far as USA is concerned, we have very good relationship. We have a trade that is around $100 billion every year, and we have a huge population. We have a huge diaspora in USA. And on the other hand, with Russia also, we have a long-standing relationship. 1971 war also, our relation is Russia who was gave us security. It is Russia who has supported us. Other time USA was not with us. So Russia is a historical friend which has given unconditional support so far nuclear arms is concerned. We have given unconditional support so far transfer of technology, and also in every global platform, Russia has supported India. So it's a historical friend. We cannot go against Russia irrespective of the situation because in international relations, the national interest that plays the maximum. We have a we have a huge amount, around 20,000 students who are always stranded. We are already stranded in Ukraine for medical education. So we have to evacuate them. So we have to maintain a balanced opposition. That's why we neither go against USA, neither go against Russia. And we have also defense relationship. We are importing S-400 missile system, S-400 that is from defense S-400 defense system from Russia, right? So based on the strategic interest or based on the technological cooperation, defense cooperation, we cannot go against any of the countries. So we have abstained from the United Nations General Assembly UNJ resolution, right? Then General Assembly session was convened after similar resolution has failed to pass the United Nations in Russia as its exercise its veto. Yes, Russia has exercised veto, but it has not passed. There is no rule in United Nations. There is a proposal that if two-thirds countries of the members that present in UNJ, if they pass a resolution that must be passed, it was a proposal, but at that time Russia didn't agree, citing its security reasons. So, if you consider, is there any absolute power of United Nations General Assembly? Then answer is no. There is no power of United Nations General Assembly. It is just like all the members are standing and giving their speech, and just passing the resolutions, which has no implementation, power of implementation. Now, what are the key points of the resolution? The resolution co-sponsored by 96 countries needed two-thirds of the present and voting to support it for it to it pass. 96 countries, it is sponsored by 96 countries, and it is two-thirds of the present and voting right to pass. It condemns the 24th February 2022 special military operation by the Russia over the Ukraine. It says that no terrorist acquired through the force will be recognized, and calls Russia immediately, completely, and unconditionally withdraw from the Ukraine. This is the resolution. It calls Russia to immediately, unconditionally withdraw from Ukraine. But Russia is not going to obey this resolution, as these resolutions has no power. The world bodies under NATO or the USA, they have imposed sanctions. That is all the things they can do against Russia. But practically, Russia cannot do anything towards Russia because it is a member of UNSC, that is among the PF. It is a permanent P5. Next, how much Ukraine does Russia control? So you can see this is the Luhansk and Luhansk Donetsk region. It has recently, this is the Crimea. This is already in 2014, and these are the areas, Kyiv areas and Kharkiv areas. These are already annexed here as a part of it. Here is also the dictatorial. It's like dictator too much powerful or authoritarian government, that is of Putin, who is too much powerful since he is in power since last 20. That's why he has concentration of power, where he carries here, and he has a secret agenda to build the forgotten of USSR, the glory of USSR, which was competing against the USA, which was major power before the balkanization of USSR before in 1991. Okay. Next, what is the India stand and concerns? We have already discussed briefly that this format will be next. UNT Tirumurti said that safe and uninterrupted passage of Indian nationals. Safe and uninterrupted, especially students, are the foremost priority. Right? If you support Ukraine, then what will happen? Russian forces will not. They may take some actions that will happen Indian students. Also, if you do the reverse, if you will not support Russia, you support Ukraine for the students, then what will happen? Ukrainian officers will not support. Then India also called for immediate ceasefire to make a balance. India called for immediate ceasefire and restraint from violence, and both the countries should solve their dispute just by. And we hope the second round of talks between Russia and Ukraine that will yield some results. India asked for the second round of talks between Russia and Ukraine because it is obvious that after the war there will be talks, right? So rather than going for war, rather than going for human rights violations, rather than going for large-scale destructions, understanding the concerns of Russia and Ukraine, both countries must communicate and develop their relationship and make agreement of peace. Russia's actions have left India for uncomfortable to balance its interest with both Russia and Western countries. Right? India has interest in both Russia. Russia is a big source of natural gas, big source of oil. It's a big source of different. It has a developed technology. We have good relations of defense partnership. We cannot. Russia has unconditionally supported India's permanent member stands in the not UNS, right? Whereas USA has given just a verbal support, right? So we cannot make any type of we cannot make Russia dissatisfied so far as foreign policy is concerned. Next, given its experience in its own neighborhood with China and Pakistan, India is also wary of the implications of if not condemning the country, unilateral attempting to change the borders it shares with another. Right. Given experience, we have all our experience with China and Pakistan. So it is also very that implications of not condemning one country, unilaterally attempt to change the borders it shares with another. So at certain thing, so India is at crossroads. What it has to do, right? It's one type of aggression, or just because a country is powerful, it is legitimized to go and forcefully take the positions. India as a developed country, as a major power, must condemn it. But however, based on geopolitical situations, based on the politics, geopolitics, we have to we have to remain silent in such regards, right? So we cannot condemn unilaterally one country. India urges that states demonstrate their commitment to the principle of United Nations Charter to international law, respect the sovereign territorial integrity of all the states. So India indirectly says, or all can say is that you should respect the international law, you should respect the law of UN, you should respect the sovereignty, territorial integrity of all the nations, which is what India is saying, right? But it directly cannot say Russia should go back, or Russia should leave the Ukraine and solve the issue. Okay. A number of countries in India's neighborhood supported resolution. That is, Bhutan, Nepal, Maldives, further instance, Afghanistan currently ruled by the Taliban. Myanmar currently ruled by junta, military junta, also voted in favor it. Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka in India abstained. China is also absent. See, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, India absent. Right. Whereas Bhutan, Nepal, Maldives, Afghanistan supported the resolution. Right. Why it is absent? Bangladesh may be absent. Pakistan, Russia is developing because Russia is saying that as India is developing relationship with West, especially the trade relationship. So that's why Russia is also supplying arms to Pakistan. Next, Sri Lanka and China. Why China? China has a developed relationship with US so far as trade relationship is concerned. Right. In that scenario, also China went from the voting. Okay. Resolutions and decisions are formal expressions. See, they are formal expressions. That means they can be implemented. In the opinion, and will of the United Nations organs. The nature of the resolution determines if it is considered binding on the states. Right. Article 10 and 14 of the Union Charter refers to General Assembly resolutions and recommendations. Article 10 and 14 of UNGA, it says that these are mere recommendations. These resolutions are mere recommendations what should be done in international politics. Then, the recommended nature of General Assembly resolutions has repeatedly been stressed by International Court of Justice. Okay, although it states by International Court of Justice, it cannot be done because there is lack of global governance in international politics. Next, however, some General Assembly resolutions dealing with matters of internal decisions such as budgetary decisions, instructions, lower ranking organs are clearly binding. Right? Some decisions, that budgetary decisions or instructions ranking, low ranking organs, they are binding. Right? They are binding. Why they are binding? Because they are not affecting the sovereignty of another country. At present time, if you consider sovereign, that means if a country has sovereignty, means all the decisions of that particular country will be taken by the prime minister or president of that country. It will not be taken by some outsider. That is what we call as sovereignty. Right? So, as those decisions which are not affecting the sovereignty of the country, they can be called as binding. That is related to budgetary decisions. Okay. Next. In general, resolutions adopted by Security Council acting under the Chapter 7 of the Charter are considered as binding. These are called Chapter 7. Chapter 7, they are binding. So that is the budgetary decisions. And they are subject to veto exercised by current members of. However, subjected to veto exercised by members of USSR. Who are the members? It is the France, it is the China, it is the Russia, it is the United States, it is the UK. They may apply veto if they may stop. They may stop in such a resolution. They have veto power. Next, what is Montage Convention? Now this is a new type, this is a new kind of affair. That is Montage Convention. Here it is a Turkey that is related. It is related to Turkey. Now, what is the challenge? Challenge before the Turkey is to balance between East and Russia. That's the biggest challenge. Turkey is a member of NATO, whereas it is developing its relationship with Russia so far as defense is concerned. Also, it is developed its relations with Ukraine. It is Turkey who are purchased as for Russia. Right? So it is now it has become very hard for the Turkey to balance because Turkey sees that if it goes against Russia, then obviously there are some repercussions so far as Black Sea is concerned. Another thing is if Turkey is not supporting NATO, it's already NATO members. There are so many members of NATO are there, and they will face it will also face repercussions. But Turkey is maintaining a balance. Still, Turkey has taken some hard decisions here. Turkey is set to activate Montage Convention. What is this Montage Convention? Means in response to Russia's war over Ukraine, the declaration is that situation in Ukraine had become a war. Authorizes Turkey to activate Montage Convention and ban Russian war vessels from entering the Black Sea. This is important. Ban Russian war vessels from entering the Black Sea. These are steps that Montage Convention says, right? That will ban Russian war vessels from entering the Black Sea. What are the provisions? If any war vessels will enter the Black Sea, then Turkey will give they will ask the permission of Turkey before 7 days or before 15 days. See through Bosphorus and Dardanelles Straits. These are the straits. These are very important for this year prelims. Bosphorus and Dardanelles Straits. They are related to Black Sea, where especially it is in control of Turkey. Okay, we'll see in the details. What is this Montage Convention? What is the location of Bosphorus and Dardanelles Straits? These Bosphorus and Dardanelles Straits are also known as Turkish Straits. Turkish Straits, remember. Black Sea Straits connect the Aegean Sea and the Black Sea. These are the straits that connect Aegean Sea and Black Sea. You can see the map. It is the only passage through which Black Sea ports can access the Mediterranean. Right? These are the passages through which Black Sea ports, that means the war vessels of Russia will reach the Mediterranean Sea. Over 3 million barrels of oil, about 3% of daily global supply. 3% of daily global supply are going through that is mostly produced by Russia. Azerbaijan and Kazakhstan pass through the waterway every day. That is in the Bosphorus and Straits. The route also ships large amount of iron, steel, agricultural products, majorly they are from Russia to Europe and the rest of the world. Right. So it's a very important trade route so far as Turkey is concerned, which is under the control of Turkey. So Turkey is under the pressure of NATO. Turkey is going to set these limitations on Russia that it will not allow war vessels to pass through it. Okay, next. What is this Montage Convention? This Montage Convention, international agreements are signed by Australia, Bulgaria, France, Greece, Yugoslavia, Romania, United Kingdom, and Soviet Union. Turkey has been effect since November 1996. Montage Convention is also related to ozone layer. Don't be confused. Montage Convention, Vienna Convention, Montage Convention, that is also related to ozone layer, but that is different. Here at Montage Convention, that is related to 1936 Montage Convention, that is between Australia, Bulgaria, France. Remember these countries. They may ask you Australia, Bulgaria, France, Greece, Japan, Romania, Yugoslavia, and United Kingdom. And the Soviet Union and Turkey has been effect in 1936. The Montage Convention regarding the design of the states gives the Turkey control over the water route. This gives the control to Turkey to control over the water route between the Black Sea. Russia has a major navy base at Sevastopol, that is in Crimean Peninsula. However, the ships for the ships to move from Mediterranean and beyond, they have to pass through two straits that is controlled by Turkey under Montage Convention. So this Montage Convention that are signed in 1936, that are controlled by Turkey, that is threat, that is given threat that it will not allow the war vessels of the Russia right? So this is the issue. This is Montage Convention 1936. Okay. It sets limits on the passage of civilian vessels and military warships in the Dardanelles and Bosphorus states. It sets limits. What are the limits? In the event of war, the pact gives Turkey the right to regulate the transit of naval warships and block the straits to warships belonging to the countries involved in the conflict. Any country with the coastline of the Black Sea must notify the Turkey 8 days in advance, right? So if any country want to take its warship through the straits, that are the Bosphorus Straits and the Dardanelles Straits, then they have to inform before 8 days to Turkey, as Turkey was given the control over these two straits via Montreux Convention. Other countries who don't border the Black Sea must give Turkey with 15 days advance notice. If they want to take some warships or naval ships, they have to give 15 days advance notice to Turkey. And after Turkey give the permission, then they can take it. So Turkey has again given the threat to set this Montreux Convention. Turkey has used the convention powers before. During the World War II. Turkey prevented the Axis powers from sending their warships to attack Soviet Union and blocked the Soviet Union Navy from participating in the combat of the Mediterranean. So it has also imposed its power during World War II. It can again impose its power, that is against Russia. Now, what is the role of Turkey in present crisis? In the current situation, Turkish government finds this difficult. Find itself in a difficult position as the Ukraine and Russia are important partners in the critical energy and military trade agreements. Right? Ukraine and Russia are critical partners in the military trade agreements with the Turkish government. Turkey NATO member, remember Turkey is a NATO member since 1952, wants to strengthen its ties with West while not upsetting Russia. Turkey do not want to upset Russia, do not want bad Russia, but it's NATO member, that means already ally of West. Its control over these key straits test is a balancing act, right? It do not have to upset Russia, neither it has to go against the West. In this context, Turkey has held that it cannot block Russian warships accessing the Black Sea. It cannot block Russian warships accessing the Black Sea due to the clause of the pact that exempting those returning to their registered base. Registered base. What is this registered base? We have known that already Russia has various warships and different places, and if they will return to the registered base or wherever in the natural base, then Turkey cannot block them. Article 19 of the treaty contains the exception for the countries in the Black Sea that can effectively undermine the Turkish power in the blocking of Russian warships entering and exiting the Black Sea. The vessels of war belonging to belligerent powers, whether they are Black Sea powers or not, they have become separated from their bases, may return there too. The exception provides Russia with an alternate way to exploit the Montreux Convention, who should be reassigned from vessels in the Black Sea. So there is certain exceptions. In certain cases, under Article 19, Russia can take back its warships, and Russia is misutilizing the clause Article 19 of Montreux Record and taking the strategic advantage. Okay. So this is all your Russia-Ukraine crisis finished. Next we'll see the environment. Dugong conservation in Park Bay. Dugong conservation. Recently, Tamil Nadu government has decided to go ahead with the establishment of India's conservation reserve for the Dugong. Tamil Nadu government, it is the southern part of India, right? Tamil Nadu government. Dugong, it is also called a sea cow. The Gulf of Mannar. What is the Gulf of Mannar? It is near the Parkway that is in between India and Sri Lanka. To act as a leading nation on the South Asia sub-region with respect to Dugong conservation. That is a sea cow. Dugong is a marine animal, right? Conservation, so conservation. Tamil Nadu government has decided to go ahead establishment of India's first conservation reserve. It will establish a first conservation reserve of Dugong. The Tamil Nadu government has taken a decision. What is Dugong? Also called a sea cow, one of the 4 surviving species. seek out 4 surviving species in order of Sirenia and also the only existing species of herbivorous mammal in exclusive sea, including India. It's a herbivorous mammal, right? Not carnivorous, herbivorous, that lives exclusively in the sea. Next, dugong are important part of marine ecosystem and a depletion have effects on the way of all the way of the food chain. It's like a, although it's not a keystone species, it's an important species so far as marine ecosystem is concerned. You know that if a single species in a particular food chain or a particular food will get affected because of number of its number, then a whole sum of species all get affected and the whole food chain get disturbed. So in that scenario, so far as dugong is concerned, it is one of the most important key species in our sea and marine animals, which is in a threat. Right. Okay. Next, where is distribution? They are found over 30 countries in India, seen in Gulf of Mannar. 30 countries in India, seen in Gulf of Mannar. Gulf of Mannar is the other Tamil Nadu, that is Tamil Nadu and Sri Lanka. Gulf of Kutch, that is Gujarat and Pathway. Andaman and Nicobar Islands. These are the areas where the sea cow or dugong are spread. Then conservation status. IUCN Red List status vulnerable. Right. It's not above the list concern, vulnerable. Then it is in the next stage endangered, right? And it is in Schedule 1 of Wildlife Conservation Act. That means it is that it is serious. It is a serious, even those who are in Schedule 1, their conservation is the utmost necessity. Then sites in Appendix 1, sites, the international agreement. IUCN Red List. This is a book, red data book, where then various species which are in the status of vulnerable or least concern or endangered or critical endangered, they all are mentioned in IUCN Red List. So far as these status, these are concerned, dugong is a very important marine animal, and that need to be conserved. In Tamil Nadu government has taken the step and established fast marine conservation center. Now, okay, threats. Dugong when it grows on seagrass. Seagrass is important. Remember, seagrass is important, but some marine species also for the dugongs. Loss of seagrass is where due to ocean trawling, bottom trawling. Seagrass there is loss of seagrass because of bottom trawling. What is this bottom trawling? That is by fishing, right? Some modern trawlers, they are for fishing purposes. Their net will it will make scratch on the floor. It will take all the species that is just nearby the floor, and that bottom trawling is fed to seagrass and many other marine species that is also affecting the dugong. Trawling is a method of fishing that involves pulling fishing net through the water behind one or more boats. It is a harmful to the environmental because it damages the sleeper. So far as India Sri Lanka relationship is concerned, they are also complaining so far as the marine biodiversity is concerned to stop this bottom trawling. Coral reefs and other marine animals all are threatened because of bottom trawling. Wherever you are writing any marine question regarding marine biodiversity or threats to marine diversity, you must mention this bottom trawling issue. In human activities such as destruction and modification of habitat, pollution, rampant illegal fishing activities, vessel strikes, unsustainable hunting and poaching, and unplanned tourism, right? Excessive tourism are the main threats to dugongs. Various pollution, to sea via river, and rampant illegal fishing that is unsustainable fishing for economic purposes, vessel strikes, unsustainable hunting and poaching. So this person has poach for various commercial purposes, right? So that become a threat for dugong. Dugong meat is consumed under the wrong impression that it cools down human. Dugong meat is also consumed. That's why they are poached for some specific purposes. This threat, that is a perception that it will reduce the body temperature. That's why we are eating dugong meat. Okay. Steps taken for conservation. What are steps taken for conservation? In February 2020, India hosted 13th COP, right? in COP13, Convention on the Conservation of Migratory Species and Wild Animals, CMS, Treaty of United Nations Environmental Program under UNEP. The government of India has been a signatory to CMS since 1983. CMS, that is Conservation of Migratory Species and Wild Animals. India has signed non-legally binding memorandums under MOU with CMS and Conservation of Siberian cranes, marine turtles, dugongs, raptors, 2016. So India has signed all these agreements for conservation of this species, marine species. The Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change constituted a task force for conservation of the right? It has also constituted a task force for conservation of dugongs to reduce this poaching, to reduce the excessive trawling, right? To make a balance fishing. Then to look into the issues related to conservation of dugongs and implementation of the UNEP CMS Dugong MOU. UNEP CMS Dugong MOU. To implement this MOU, government has established a task force. In India, also facilitates India to act as a leading nation in South Asia sub-region with respect to dugong conservation. Okay. Next. What are the conservation reserves? Conservation reserves, community reserves are terms of denoting protected areas of the country, which are typically act as buffer zones to connect or connectors in migration corridors between the established national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, and reserve areas. So there will be buffer zones. Zone. Some areas will be conserved areas where no human bodies will be allowed. Then such areas are designated as conservation areas, and if they are uninhabited and completely owned by the government of India, but used for subsistence by the communities and community areas, if part of the lands are privately owned, right? Community areas. However, some areas of conservation areas, they are related to community areas. Community areas means some of the tribal areas, some of the tribal people, the local people, they are using, they have access to the conserved area to especially get the traditional, if any traditional suppose fruits or forest products, they have the access. Otherwise, there is no open spaces to conserved areas. So if a conserved area is there, then when marine conservation area, conserved area means they are not allowed. Outers are not allowed to keep activities that will protect those areas, protect the dugongs. These categories were added because reduced protection and around existing and proposed protected areas due to private ownership land and so these areas are exploited. That's why conservation is essential. We'll next see the objective questions. Today some objective questions. Daily quiz, right? Consider the following statements for a PM Cares Fund. PM Cares Fund. We all know PM Cares Fund why it has started. It has started because to address some quick issues of COVID pandemic, right? It was set up as a public charitable trust. Anybody can donate. Anybody can donate PM Cares Fund. We can have a donation from fund contribution. Yes. Prime Minister is the ex-official chairman. Yes. So 3 points. One is that it is charitable trust. Second is they can accept current contribution. Third is Prime Minister is the ex-official chairman. It is under the Prime Minister. And another thing is that if anybody can donate, even the business persons, they can donate via the CSR funds. Corporate social responsibility. They can also donate via CSR funds. So this is PM Care Fund. Its criticism is that it is not coming under RTI. That's why it is a criticism of PM Care. Okay. Quadrilateral security dialogue. Quadrilateral security dialogue. It is a organization that is in Indo-Pacific, area where India, Japan, United States, and Australia. These 4 countries. India is included, right? So there India is included. these four countries, they have established Quad in Indo-Pacific. Why they have established Quad? Because to counter China in Indo-Pacific, to establish maritime security and free passages of international vessels. Okay. Next, consider the following statements of Parvatmala scheme. What is Parvatmala scheme? It is a ropeways. Ropeways will be developed in hilly areas because it is very difficult to move by make roads to hilly areas, right? By cutting the hills. So ropeways will be less costlier and it will be easily cost effective and it can be implemented easily because you just need 2 towers, you will establish a ropeway, right? And you can move from place. There is no problem of land acquisition as well. We have already discussed the ropeways or Parvatmala schemes in detail. So here it is a brief. And the scheme is being started in the regions of Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh. Yes, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, and hilly areas of Northeast, there will be Parvatmala schemes. It has already started in Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh. It was announced in November 2023 to improve the connectivity in hilly regions, right? Ropeways. This is Parvatmala schemes. So both the statements are right, that is both and 1 and 2. Next, consider the following statements about Wayanad Wildlife Sanctuary. Wayanad Wildlife Sanctuary, it is in Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. It is in Kerala. Next is, it is the only sanctuary of Kerala which is citing four-horned antelopes. Remember, four-horned antelopes, this is related to, this is highly linked to your Wayanad Wildlife Sanctuary. It is only present in wildlife, that is Wayanad Wildlife Sanctuary. So both the statements 1 and 2 are correct. It is in Western Ghats. It is in Karnataka, Kerala. It is extended in the southern part of India. Okay, next. The Kaveri River is one of the major tributaries of river Kaveri. Kaveri River, there is also some, it is related to Kaveri River, Kaveri. So here the lecture ends. Like this video, share this video, encourage us to take this program. Thank you.